I didn't even feel the cold at first. That's the crazy part. When my mother told me to apologize or get out, and my father silently held the front door open like I was some stranger who wandered in off the street. I didn't feel anything. Not the sting on my cheek. Not the weight of 25 pairs of eyes watching me like I deserved it. Not even the November air that sliced through my sweater the second I stepped outside. I just shut down. Like my body decided, we're not doing this right now, but let me back up. Because that slap. That moment. That wasn't where the story started. That was just where everything finally broke. The Wednesday before Thanksgiving, I pulled into my parents' driveway in Ridgefield, Pennsylvania, after a 3-hour drive from Hartford. My trunk was packed, like always, with catered trays. Turkey, mac and cheese, roasted veggies, pies, the whole Pinterest perfect spread. Because yeah, for 6 years straight, I'd been the one paying for Thanksgiving. No one asked me to. But no one ever told me to stop either. I stepped out of the car, stretched my back, and stared at the house. Same white siding. Same crooked mailbox. Same place I'd spent years trying to belong to. Vanessa's car was already there. Of course it was. When I walked in through the side door, I didn't get a hug. Didn't get a, "Hey, how was the drive?" My mom barely glanced up from the counter. "You're late. Put the food there." 7 minutes late. I checked. Vanessa stood there arranging a charcuterie board like she was filming a lifestyle vlog. She popped a cracker into her mouth and smirked. Traffic must have been brutal, huh? I didn't answer. I just started unloading trays, because that's what I always did. Show up, pay, stay quiet. But here's the part no one ever says out loud. That kitchen. I paid for it. The quartz countertops. The lighting. The back door. The roof from 2 winters ago when the ice storm hit. The second mortgage they managed to get approved. Yeah, I co-signed that. $127,000. And for 8 years, I made every single payment. Add in my sister's failing nail salon I helped fund. My mom's medical bills, my dad's insurance. We're talking over $300,000. And not once did anyone in that house say my name when they talked about how things got done. It was always, "We managed. We figured it out. We made it work." Funny how we never included me. I was setting down the last tray when I noticed it. An envelope. Sitting near the toaster. From First Heritage Bank. Something about it felt off. The corner was slightly peeled, like someone opened it and tried to close it again. I picked it up. "Don't touch that." Vanessa's voice came sharp behind me. "That's Mom and Dad's mail." I slowly set it back down, but my brain didn't let it go. Because Vanessa doesn't care about anything unless there's something to hide. Let me tell you about my grandmother, May. She basically raised me. When my parents were too busy surviving, she was the one teaching me how to budget, how to read people, how to not let the world walk all over me. Funny, right? Because somehow I still ended up here. The night she died, I held her hand in that hospital room. Machines beeping, air too quiet, everything feeling like it was slipping away. She looked straight at me and said, "Keep this family together, Birdie. They don't know how." And I promised. God, I really meant it. For 16 years, I kept that promise, even when it cost me everything. That night the house filled up fast. Relatives, neighbors, random plus ones. By 7 p.m., it was packed. The smell of cinnamon and garlic filled the air. Football played in the background. Laughter bounced off the walls. It looked like a perfect family. If you didn't look too closely. My dad gave me a nod when I walked by. That was it. A nod. Meanwhile, my mom was practically parading Vanessa around like she'd just cured cancer. "My Vanessa runs her own business now," she said proudly. Vanessa smiled, flipping her hair. I knew the truth. Her salon had been bleeding money for months. But no one asked me, because I was just the girl with some office job. That's what my mom called it. Some office job. I'm the director of business development at a commercial construction firm. I manage $1 million projects. But sure. Some office job. Later that night, Vanessa cornered me in the hallway. Her nails dug into my arm just enough to hurt. "Don't mention the loan," she whispered. I blinked. What? I told Mom it's paid off. I stared at her. "It's not paid off." She smiled, cold, calculated. "Then maybe, don't ruin Thanksgiving." And just like that, she walked away, leaving me standing there, heart pounding, brain trying to catch up, because that wasn't just a lie. That was something bigger. Something dangerous. That night, I barely slept. I lay on the pull-out couch, staring at the ceiling, replaying everything. The envelope. Vanessa's warning. The way my mom dismissed me like I was nothing, and then it hit me. Vanessa had been taking credit for everything. My money, my support, my sacrifices. She turned it into this fake, family fund story so she could look like the hero. And my parents, they just accepted it, because believing her was easier than admitting the truth. The next morning, I woke up early. Habit. Grandma May always said, the one who starts the coffee controls the day. So I went into the kitchen. And there it was again. That envelope. But this time, it wasn't on the counter, it was in the trash, opened, torn, half hidden under a cereal box. My heart started racing. I pulled it out just enough to peek inside. And that's when I saw it. The words printed at the top: deed transfer notification. My stomach dropped. I didn't even fully understand what I was looking at yet. But I knew one thing for sure. Something wasn't right. Something big. Something that could change everything. I snapped a quick photo of the header with my phone, shoved the envelope back into the trash, and stood there frozen. Because suddenly, Thanksgiving wasn't about family anymore. It was about survival. And I had no idea just how bad things were about to get. The moment I saw that ring on Vanessa's finger, something inside me snapped so quietly, nobody else even noticed. But trust me, it was loud. Loud in that way where your chest tightens, your throat burns, and you realize this isn't just disrespect anymore. This is theft. Mom gave it to me. Vanessa said, holding her hand out like she was showing off a damn engagement ring on Instagram. The sapphire caught the light. Deep blue, almost glowing. I knew that ring, every scratch, every detail, that tiny nick on the side. I remembered exactly where it came from. Grandma May caught it on a garden fence when I was 8. I was right there when it happened. She laughed it off and said, "Now it's got character." That ring wasn't just jewelry. It was a promise. And it was mine. She said Grandma would have wanted me to have it. Vanessa added sweetly. I looked at my mom. She nodded like this was normal. "Vanessa's here every day," she said. "She deserves it." Deserves it. I swear, something in my brain just went quiet. Because what do you even say to that? What argument do you make when the people who are supposed to know your heart rewrite your entire existence like you were never part of the story? Okay, I said. Just one word. Flat. Empty. And I walked back into the kitchen before I said something that would have burned the whole house down. The sink filled with water as I stood there, gripping the edge of the counter. My reflection in the window looked off. Like I was watching someone else. Because in that moment, it hit me: this wasn't new. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was a pattern. Vanessa didn't just take things. She replaced me. Took my role, my contributions, my place in the family. And everyone just let her. About 20 minutes later, she followed me into the living room. Like nothing happened, like she hadn't just stolen something that meant more to me than anything in that house. She dropped onto the couch and started telling stories. Old childhood stories. Except, they weren't true. "Remember when Bridget cried at her science fair because nobody showed up?" she said, laughing. A couple people chuckled awkwardly. My stomach tightened. "That's not how it happened," I said quietly. Vanessa tilted her head, smiling like I was being cute. See, still so sensitive. I felt the heat rise in my chest. Because I remembered that day. I didn't cry because nobody came. I cried because Mom promised she would, and didn't. Big difference. But of course, Vanessa wouldn't tell it like that. "Bridget, don't start," my mom cut in sharply. Not "Vanessa, stop lying," not "let her speak." No, "Bridget, don't start," like I was the problem, like I always was. "Girls, enough," my dad muttered from the recliner, eyes still glued to the TV. But his "enough" wasn't for Vanessa. It never was. It was always for me, because I was the one who reacted. Vanessa didn't need to react. She controlled the narrative, and everyone else just followed along. She kept going. Story after story, each one twisting the past just enough to make her look better, and me look weak. needy, difficult, and the worst part, people listened. Some laughed, some avoided eye contact, but nobody stopped her. Not one person said, "That's not fair." Not one person said, "Let Bridget talk." It was like I wasn't even there. Then she leaned forward slightly, her voice soft, almost fake, sweet. "I just want us to be a family," she said. And then she looked straight at me. "Is that so hard for you?" The room went quiet. Not dramatic quiet. Not shocked quiet. That uncomfortable, pretend, nothing happened kind of quiet. And I swear, that line hit harder than anything she said all night, because she made it sound like I was the one breaking the family. Like I was the problem. Like all of this was somehow my fault. Across the room, Aunt Ruthie caught my eye. She shook her head slightly and mouthed two words. "Not here?" I clenched my jaw. Because she was right. This wasn't the place. Not yet, but the air in that room, it had changed. And Vanessa knew it. I could see it in the way she kept talking. Faster now. Louder. Like she was trying to fill the space before I said something she couldn't control. I needed a second. Just one. So I stood up and made my way toward the kitchen. The living room was packed. People everywhere, kids on the floor, coats piled on chairs. The only path out was tight. I turned sideways, squeezing between the coffee table and the couch. And that's when it happened. My shoulder brushed hers. That's it. Just a brush, the kind that happens 100 times at any crowded family gathering. Nothing. But to Vanessa, it was everything. She stopped mid-sentence. Mid-laugh. The entire room felt it. You know that moment when the loudest person suddenly goes quiet, and everyone notices. Yeah, that. I froze. Slowly, she turned her head toward me. Her eyes locked onto mine. And I saw it, that shift, that spark. That moment where she decided, "I'm going to make this a scene." Her hand lifted, slow, deliberate, and for a split second I thought, no way. Not here. Not in front of everyone. Not over something this small. But I was wrong. The room went still. Forks paused mid-air, voices cut off. Even the TV felt quieter. I could hear my own heartbeat in my ears. And I just stood there, frozen, because my brain refused to believe what my eyes were seeing. And then her hand connected with my face so hard my head snapped to the side. The sound echoed sharp. Loud. Final. I tasted blood instantly. Metallic, bitter. My ear rang like someone set off an alarm inside my skull. "Are you blind or just stupid?" she snapped. Her voice cut through the silence like glass. Nobody moved, nobody spoke. Not one person. 25 people. And not a single one stepped in. I straightened slowly. My cheek burned. My eye watered, not from emotion, just reflex. I blinked, forcing my vision to steady, and I looked at her. Really looked. Her chest was rising and falling fast. Her hand was still slightly raised. But there was no regret in her eyes. None. Just adrenaline. And in that moment, I realized something. This wasn't about the shoulder. This wasn't about the ring. This wasn't even about me. This was about control. And she thought she still had it. The silence stretched, heavy. Uncomfortable. Waiting. Because everyone in that room knew. The next person to speak would define everything. And finally, someone did. My mother. She walked toward me quickly. And for one stupid, hopeful second, I thought she was coming to defend me. To say something. Anything. To show that I mattered. But she stopped right in front of me, looked me dead in the eyes, and said, "Say sorry or get out, now." I felt something inside me crack. Not loudly, not dramatically. Just quietly, like the last piece of something fragile finally breaking beyond repair. "She hit me," I said. My voice came out calm. Too calm. "You provoked her." My mom shot back instantly. "You always do." I turned my head slowly. Looked at my dad. Hoping. Just a little. Anything. But he didn't say a word. He just stood up. Walked to the front door. Opened it. And held it there. Like I didn't belong. Like I never had. And that's when I knew. This wasn't just a bad moment. This wasn't something we'd laugh about later. This was the moment my family chose. And it wasn't me. I grabbed my coat. My keys. And without saying another word, I walked out. Because sometimes the loudest thing you can do is leave. And I had no idea that by the next morning, everything they thought they had was about to collapse. By the time I got back to my apartment that night, I already knew something was very, very wrong. But I didn't know how deep it went. Not yet. The cold finally hit me when I stepped out of my car. Not just outside. Inside too. That numb feeling I'd been holding onto all night. It started cracking the second I stood there alone in that quiet parking lot. No voices. No judgment. No one telling me to apologize for something I didn't do. Just meh, and the truth I'd been avoiding for years. I walked toward the mailboxes. Because of what Derek said. Check your mail. That line kept replaying in my head like a warning I couldn't ignore. I slid the key into my mailbox, turned it, and pulled the door open. Junk mail, bills, a credit card offer, and then, a certified envelope from the county recorder's office. My stomach dropped instantly, because nobody gets official mail like that for something small. I didn't even wait to get upstairs. I tore it open right there under the flickering parking lot light, and the second my eyes landed on the document inside, everything inside me went ice cold. Deed transfer. Recorded 3 weeks ago. My parents' property, the house I'd been paying for, the house I code-signed for. I scanned the names, Gerald Sinclair, Donna Sinclair, Vanessa Sinclair, and then, my name, Bridget Sinclair. Except, it wasn't my signature. I stared at it. My brain trying to process what my eyes were seeing. The loops were wrong. The flow was off. The way I write my B, completely different. Someone had signed my name. On a legal document. Without me. Without my consent. I whispered it out loud, like saying it might make it less real. No, 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 no. But it was real. Every word. Every signature. Every lie. I walked inside in a daze. Didn't take off my coat. Didn't turn on the lights. Just sat down at my kitchen table with the document spread out in front of me. Staring. Trying to breathe. Trying not to spiral. Because this wasn't family drama anymore. This was fraud. I grabbed my laptop, scanned every page, front, back, margins, details, and then I emailed everything to Marcus. One line. They forged my signature. Call me in the morning. I didn't cry. Not that night. I just sat there in the dark, listening to the hum of my apartment, the refrigerator clicking on, cars passing outside, life going on like mine hadn't just flipped upside down. At exactly 8:00 a.m. my phone rang. Marcus. I answered immediately. This is fraud, he said, no greeting, no hesitation. My stomach dropped again. Forgery on a recorded deed. That's a felony. The word hit different when he said it. Felony. Not mistake. Not misunderstanding. A crime. I drove straight to his office in downtown Hartford. Didn't even think about work. Didn't think about anything except one question: how bad is this? Marcus already had a file ready when I walked in. Thick. Organized. Serious. That alone told me everything I needed to know. He adjusted his glasses and slid a document across the desk. This is the original deed, he said. Your name is on it as co-signer. I nodded. I know. Then he placed another document on top of it. This is the new one. I didn't want to look. But I did. My name was gone. Vanessa's name was there instead. Clean, official, legal. They removed you, Marcus said calmly. And added her. How? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. He tapped the page. With a forged signature. I leaned back in my chair, staring at the ceiling. Trying to steady myself, trying to not completely lose it. But then he said something that made everything worse. There's more. Of course there was. There's always more. After the deed transfer, he continued, a home equity line of credit was opened. I froze. A what? A halal against the property. My heart started racing. How much? He looked me dead in the eye. $85,000. I felt like the air got sucked out of the room. Where did it go? I asked. Marcus flipped a page in the file, mostly to a business account under Vanessa's Selin. Of course. Of course it did. And the rest. Personal credit cards. Expenses. I laughed. Not because it was funny. Because it was so insane. My brain didn't know what else to do. She didn't just take my name off the house. She used the equity I built to fund her failing life. This isn't just forgery, Marcus said. This is real estate fraud, possibly identity fraud depending on how she filed the application. I swallowed hard. Saw what happens now. He leaned forward, hands folded. We'll fight back. By noon, he had 3 legal letters drafted. One for Vanessa, one for my parents, and one for the bank. Each one demanding the same thing, Restore my name, shut down the schluck account for every dollar, or face legal consequences. 15 days. Marcus said. That's their window. And if they don't? He didn't hesitate. We go criminal. I nodded slowly. Because at that point, there was no other option. Before I left his office, I pulled out my phone, opened my banking app, and started canceling everything. The monthly transfers, the mortgage payments, the insurance contributions, the salon support, 8 years of financial support, gone, in under 5 minutes. Marcus watched me quietly. You sure? He asked. I looked up at him. They forged my name and stole from me, I said. I'm done funding that. And just like that I cut them off. By Wednesday morning, my phone rang. Mom, of course. Something's wrong with the bank, she said immediately. No hello, no concern, just confusion. The payment didn't go through. I leaned against my kitchen counter. Calm, steady, controlled. I canceled it. Silence. Heavy. Thick. What do you mean you canceled it? She snapped. I mean I stopped paying for a house I don't own. What are you talking about? She demanded. This is your family. I let out a small breath. A family that forged my signature and stole my equity. Silence again. Then. You ungrateful. After everything I've what, Mom? I cut in. Name one thing you've done for me. She couldn't. Of course she couldn't. Then my dad took the phone. Don't do this to your mother, he said. Same tone. Same avoidance. Same silence dressed up as concern. I didn't do anything to her, I replied. Check who did. And I hung up. Because for the first time in my life, I wasn't going to fix it. And that's when everything started falling apart for them. But what I didn't expect was how fast it would happen. Because within days, the money dried up, the lies started cracking, and the truth started coming out, and trust me, it was way worse than I imagined. You can't do this to me. That's how Vanessa sounded when she called me Thursday morning. Not confident, not in control, not that fake sweet voice she used in front of everyone. No, this was different. This was fear. Real, ugly, choking fear. I could hear it in the way her breath hitched between words, like she was running out of air. I'm your sister, she said, her voice breaking. You're going to ruin my life over a misunderstanding. I leaned back against my kitchen counter, coffee in hand, staring out the window like I was talking to a stranger. A misunderstanding, I repeated calmly. You forged my signature on a legal document. It wasn't like that, she snapped, panic creeping in. Mom and Dad said it was fine. They said you wouldn't care. There it was. The blame shift. Classic Vanessa. I closed my eyes for a second, letting that sink in. So they told you to commit a felony? I asked. Silence. Then a shaky breath. I was trying to fix things, she whispered. The salon, it needed help. I was going to pay it back. With what money? I shot back. The money you don't have. The business that's been losing money for months. She didn't answer, because she couldn't. You had 3 weeks, I continued. 3 weeks to tell me, to fix it, to come clean. I was going to, she said quickly. No, I cut in. You were going to keep going until you got caught. Her breathing got heavier. Desperate now. Please, she said. I'll fix it. I'll put your name back. I'll close the line of credit. Just don't file anything. Please. For a moment, I didn't say anything, because part of me, some stupid, leftover piece of the girl who still wanted a family, wanted to believe her. Wanted to think maybe this could still be handled quietly, but then I remembered the slap. The door, the silence, and I knew better. You already spent $85,000 of my equity. I said slowly, you don't get to ask for quiet now. A broken sound came through the phone. Half sob. Half gasp. You're going to destroy this family, she whispered. I let out a quiet breath. I didn't destroy it, I said. I just stopped holding it together. And I hung up. That was the moment everything shifted, because after that call I didn't hesitate anymore. I opened my laptop. Typed one word in an email to Marcus. Proceed, and just like that it began. Monday morning, 9 a.m., Marcus walked into the county recorder's office with a folder that might as well have been a bomb. Inside it, proof. Every receipt, every payment, Every document tying me to that house. And every piece of evidence showing exactly what Vanessa did. By noon, the property was flagged, legally frozen. No selling it, no refinancing it, no touching it, a lis pendens. Public record, public truth. And just like that, the illusion started cracking. The bank responded within hours. They froze the HELOC immediately. No more withdrawals, no more safety net, no more lies backed by borrowed money. At 3 p.m., Marcus called me. "It's done," he said. "Your sister can't touch that house anymore." I sat at my desk, staring out the window at the city moving like nothing had happened. "What happens now?" I asked. "We wait," he said. 15 days. If they fix it, it stays civil. If not, it gets worse. I nodded, even though he couldn't see me. Because deep down, I already knew. They weren't going to fix it. They were going to stall. Denny. Blame. Just like always. But this time, that wasn't going to work. Because this time, there were consequences. And they came fast. By day 3, everything started unraveling. Vanessa's salon? It was already on life support. The HELOC wasn't just extra money. It was the only thing keeping it alive. Rent, supplies, payroll. Everything depended on it. So when the bank froze the account, it didn't just hurt, it collapsed. Her landlord posted a notice on the door. 10 days to pay $12,000 or get out. She didn't have it. Of course she didn't, because the successful business owner image she sold everyone. That was just another lie. And without my money propping it up, the truth showed itself real fast. I found all of this out through Derek. He texted me at 2 a.m., one long message. Messy. Typos everywhere. You could feel the stress in every word. She used the HELOC for everything. He wrote. Rent, credit cards, everything. I told her not to do the deed thing. She said if I told you, she'd tell your parents I cheated. I stared at my phone. She said, "You cheated?" I typed back. "No." He replied. "I didn't. I just didn't fight her hard enough." Then another message. "She's losing it. Threw a plate at me tonight." I didn't respond after that, because what was there to say? He knew. He saw it. And now he was stuck in it too. That's the thing about lies. They don't just hurt one person. They spread. They poison everything around them. By day 9, my dad called. And I almost didn't answer. But something told me to pick up. Maybe curiosity, maybe closure, maybe just habit. "Birdie," he said. I froze. He hadn't called me that in years. "Dad," I replied quietly. "This has gone too far," he said. I let out a slow breath. "She forged my signature. She made a mistake," he said quickly. "People make mistakes." I laughed under my breath. "A mistake is forgetting a bill, Dad. This was intentional." Silence. Then he said something that stuck with me. "What do you want from us?" I didn't hesitate. "I want the deed restored. I want the credit line closed. And I want her to face consequences." "She's your sister," he said. "She committed a felony," I replied. Another long silence. Then he said it. "If you do this, your mother will never forgive you." And that told me everything. Because even now, even after everything, they were still trying to protect her. At my expense. I closed my eyes for a second. Then said quietly, "I think I'll survive." And hung up. Because that was the moment I realized something important. They weren't sorry. They were scared. And there's a difference, a big one. Day 15 came and went. No apology, no correction, no accountability, just silence. And one Facebook post from Vanessa. "Some people use money to control their family. Love shouldn't come with conditions." I stared at it for a long time. Then screenshotted it. And sent it to Marcus. His reply came fast. "We'll file tomorrow." And just like that, it crossed the line, from family drama to criminal case. The next morning, the complaint was filed. Forgery, real estate fraud, full documentation, full evidence, no turning back. Marcus called me later that day. "It's official?" he said. "The DA has it." I sat in my car, staring at nothing. Not relieved, not happy. Just done. "I gave them 15 days," I said quietly. "And they gave you a forged signature and a slap," he replied. I didn't respond. Because there was nothing left to say. Everything had already been said, just not by them. And now, they were finally going to have to answer for it. And trust me, what came next? No one in that family was ready for it. The moment the district attorney opened the case, my family stopped being a family. They became defendants. And the craziest part, that still didn't wake them up right away. I was sitting in my car outside my office when Marcus called. "It's filed," he said. 2 words. Simple. Final. "It's in the system. They've assigned a case number. Your sister's officially under investigation." I stared through the windshield at people walking by like it was just another normal Tuesday. Coffee in hand. Phones out, laughing, normal life. Meanwhile, mine had turned into something that felt like a courtroom drama I never auditioned for. "Okay," I said quietly. "You all right?" Marcus asked. I thought about it for a second. About the slap, the door, the forged signature, the lies. "I gave them a chance," I said. "That's all that matters," he replied. But here's the truth. It didn't feel like enough. Because no matter how justified this was, it still hurt. Within 48 hours, Vanessa got the notice. I know because she called me again. But this time, she didn't sound desperate. She sounded angry. "You really did it," she snapped the second I picked up. "Yeah?" I said calmly. "I did. You're actually pressing charges against your own sister." I leaned back in my chair. "You stopped being just my sister when you forged my name." She laughed. Not a real laugh. That sharp, defensive kind people use when they're cornered. "Oh my God, Bridget, it wasn't that serious." I closed my eyes for a second. Because that right there, that was the problem. "It's a felony," I said. "It's only a felony if you make it one." She shot back. I almost smiled. Because that was such a Vanessa thing to say. Like reality was optional. Like consequences only existed if I enforced them. "You could have just talked to me," she continued. "We could have figured it out like a family. Like the way you talked to me before signing my name." I asked. Silence. "Then, you're being dramatic." There it was. Minimize, deflect, blame, same pattern, different day. "You took $85,000 from me," I said, without asking. "I was going to pay it back?" "With what?" I asked again. "Vanessa, your business is failing." "That's not your concern." "It became my concern when you used my name to keep it alive." Her breathing got heavier again, but this time, it wasn't fear. It was frustration. Because she was realizing something she'd never had to face before. She wasn't in control anymore. "You think you're better than us," she snapped. "You always have." I let out a slow breath. "No," I said. "I just stopped letting you treat me like I'm less." She went quiet. And for a second, I thought maybe something landed. Maybe something finally got through. But then she said something that proved I was wrong. "You're dead to me," she said coldly. I nodded, even though she couldn't see it. "Yeah," I replied. "I think I've been dead to you for a long time." And I hung up. That was the last time we spoke directly. Because after that, everything shifted to lawyers, statements, evidence, facts, no more family arguments, no more emotional manipulation, just truth. The investigation moved fast, faster than I expected, because this wasn't complicated. The evidence was clear. My original signature, the forged one, the timeline, the money trail, everything pointed in one direction. Vanessa. But here's where it gets messy. Because once the investigation started, other things started coming out too. Derek reached out again. But this time it wasn't just a late-night text. He called. I almost didn't answer. But something told me this was different. So I picked up. "I talked to a lawyer," he said immediately. His voice sounded tired, drained, like someone who hadn't slept in days. "Okay," I said cautiously. "I'm giving them everything," he continued. "What do you mean everything?" I asked. "All the texts," he said. "All the messages, everything she said about the deed, the loan, all of it." I went still. "Why?" I asked. There was a pause. Then he said quietly, "Because I'm done covering for her." That hit me harder than I expected. Because Derek. He always covered for her. Always stayed quiet. Always avoided conflict. "She threatened me," he added. "With what?" "To tell your parents I cheated on her." I frowned. "Did you?" "No," he said quickly. "I didn't, but she knows they'd believe her anyway." And that sounded exactly like Vanessa. "I should have told you sooner," he said. I didn't respond right away, because part of me wanted to be angry. Wanted to say, yeah, you should have. But another part of me understood, because I knew what it was like to live in that house, to walk on eggshells, to stay quiet just to keep the peace. Thank you, I said finally. He let out a breath. Yeah, well, he muttered, too late for thanks. A week later, Vanessa's salon shut down. Just like that, locks changed, lights off, gone. 3 employees lost their jobs right before Christmas. And Vanessa, she went online. Of course she did. Posted a tearful video about unexpected financial hardship. Didn't mention the fraud. Didn't mention the loan. Didn't mention me. But people started talking. Because here's the thing about small towns. They notice patterns. They remember details. And once the legal filing became public record, everything started connecting. Neighbors started asking questions. Family friends started whispering. People remembered things. Like how I paid for the roof. How I handled the kitchen renovation. How I was always the one quietly taking care of things. And suddenly, the story Vanessa had been telling for years started falling apart. She deleted comments, blocked people, tried to control the narrative. But it was too late. Because truth doesn't need a spotlight. It just needs time. Meanwhile, my parents, they went quiet. No calls, no messages, nothing. At first, I thought maybe they were processing everything. Trying to understand, trying to figure out what to say. But then I realized the truth. They weren't processing. They were avoiding. Because facing this would mean admitting something they spent years denying. That the daughter they overlooked was the one holding everything together. And the one they protected was the one who broke it. The case moved forward. Vanessa hired a lawyer. I don't know how she paid for it. Didn't care. Not my problem anymore. By January, things got real. She was officially summoned for deposition. Formal questioning. Under oath. No more lies. No more twisting stories. Just facts. And for the first time in her life, Vanessa couldn't talk her way out of it. That's when she started to panic. For real this time, but by then, it was too late. Because the truth was already out. The evidence was already filed. And the consequences were already in motion. And the next call I got, I wasn't expecting it. Not at all. Because it came from the one person who had stayed silent through everything. My mother. And what she said changed everything all over again. I didn't know. That's the first thing my mom said when I answered the phone. No hello. No, how are you? Just that. I didn't know, she repeated, her voice smaller than I had ever heard it. I stood there in my kitchen, one hand gripping the edge of the counter, the other holding my phone like it might explode. Didn't know. Those 2 words hit me harder than I expected. Because part of me wanted to believe her. Really believe her. But another part, the part that had been ignored, dismissed, and erased for years, that part wasn't so quick to forgive. You didn't know what exactly? I asked calmly. That she forged your signature, she said quickly. I swear, Bridget, I didn't know. I closed my eyes for a second, letting that settle. Okay, I said slowly. But you knew I was paying for the house. Silence. Heavy. Uncomfortable. I thought it was coming from the family account, she said weakly. There is no family account, I replied. I know that now, she whispered. I leaned back against the counter, staring at the ceiling. Because this wasn't just about Vanessa anymore. This was about years. Years of being invisible, years of being used. Years of being the one who gave, while everyone else took. I just wanted to keep her close, my mom said softly. And there it was. The truth, not the whole truth. But enough? She's the one who stayed? She continued. You left. I laughed under my breath. Not because it was funny, because it was so painfully predictable. I didn't leave, I said. I moved out. At 18, she shot back. Yeah, I replied, because I had to. Another silence. But this one felt different, less defensive, more real. I stayed too, Mom, I said quietly. For 10 years, I stayed, just not in your house. She didn't respond. Because she knew. I paid your bills, I continued. I fixed your house. I supported this family in every way that actually mattered. My voice didn't rise, didn't shake. It just was. And you let her take credit for all of it. I heard her breathing on the other end. uneven. Like she was trying to hold something together. "I didn't see it," she whispered. And for the first time, I believed her. Not because she was innocent, but because she chose not to see it. "There's a difference. That's the problem," I said softly. "You never did." She started crying then, not the dramatic kind, not the kind Vanessa did. This was quiet, messy, real. "I messed up," she said through tears. "I know I did. I didn't think it would go this far." I swallowed hard. Because hearing her admit that, it did something to me. "Cracked something open?" "But it did," I said. "And now we're here." There was a long pause. Then she asked the question I think she'd been avoiding this whole time. "Are you really going to go through with this?" I looked around my apartment. At the quiet, at the life I built on my own. At the space where no one could take from me anymore. "Yes," I said. Her breath hitched. "Even if it destroys this family." I thought about that. Really thought about it. About everything that had happened. Everything that had been taken. Everything that had been ignored. "This family was already broken," I said. I just stopped pretending it wasn't. She didn't argue. Didn't push back. Didn't try to guilt me. And that told me more than anything she could have said. "I don't know how to fix this," she admitted quietly. And for once, I didn't have an answer for her, because for the first time in my life, it wasn't my job to fix it. "I hope you figure it out," I said. And I meant it. Just not for me. We sat in silence for a few seconds. Then she said something that surprised me. "I'm not blaming you anymore." I blinked. Because that was new. "But I'm not ready to say everything else yet," she added. "What else?" I asked. "The apology," she whispered. I nodded slowly, even though she couldn't see it. "That's honest," I said. "And honestly, that's more than I expected." We stayed on the phone a little longer. Not talking, just breathing, existing, in a space that felt unfamiliar, but not hostile. Then I said, "Take care of yourself, Mom," and hung up. I didn't cry, not after that call, not immediately, but something shifted, something small, something quiet, because for the first time, she saw me, even if it was too late. That night, I made dinner, pasta, garlic bread, nothing fancy, just something warm, something normal. I sat at my kitchen table alone, and for the first time in years, I didn't feel lonely. Because loneliness isn't about being alone. It's about being unseen, and I'd spent years surrounded by people who never really saw me. Meanwhile, back in Pennsylvania, everything was falling apart. Vanessa had lost the salon, lost the money, lost control of the narrative. Derek, he filed for divorce, quietly, no drama, no public announcement, just done. And my dad, according to Aunt Ruthie, he started sitting on the porch every morning. No matter the weather. Just sitting there. Staring at the road. He said something the other day. Ruthie told me when she called. "What?" I asked. He said, "I held the door open." That hit me in a way I didn't expect. Because he did. He held that door open. Not just physically, but emotionally, mentally. He chose silence, and that silence cost him everything. A few weeks later, Aunt Ruthie came to visit me. She brought food. Of course she did. That's her love language. We sat in my kitchen, eating and talking like normal people. No tension, no drama, just real. Before she left, she handed me an envelope. "Your dad asked me to give you this," she said. I stared at it for a second. My name written on the front. In his handwriting. I didn't open it right away. I waited until I was alone. Until the apartment was quiet again. Then I sat on my bed and opened it. And what I found inside, I wasn't ready for. Because for the first time in my life, my father finally said the words I'd been waiting my whole life to hear. But even then, it didn't fix everything, because some damage doesn't go away with an apology. And what came next would prove just how permanent some choices really are. "I'm sorry." Those were the first words in my dad's letter. Not "Hey, Bertie." Not "Hope you're doing okay." Just "I'm sorry." And somehow, that hit harder than anything else in this entire situation. I sat on my bed, holding that single sheet of paper like it weighed 100 pounds. My hands were steady, but my chest felt like it was caving in. Because my dad, the man who never said anything, who avoided every hard conversation, who chose silence over truth every single time. He finally spoke. And he did it on paper. Because that's the only way he knew how. I kept reading. I always knew you were the dependable one. I stopped. Stared at that sentence. Read it again. Because that was it, right? That was the truth they never said out loud. They knew. They always knew. And they just let it happen anyway. I didn't say it because I thought you didn't need to hear it. I let out a quiet, almost broken laugh. Didn't need to hear it. I spent my whole life needing to hear it. Every time I paid a bill. Every time I showed up. Every time I swallowed something I shouldn't have. I needed to hear it then. But he kept going. I was wrong. Everyone needs to hear it. My throat tightened, because now he says it. After everything is broken. After I walked out. After the damage is already done. Then, near the bottom of the page, the line that stayed with me the most. You deserved better from me. I closed my eyes. Because that sentence. That was everything. That was the apology. That was the acknowledgement. That was the truth I'd been waiting years for. But it came too late. Way too late. I turned the page over. Nothing else written, but something slipped out from inside the envelope. Wrapped carefully in tissue paper. My heart skipped. I already knew what it was before I even opened it, but my hands still hesitated. Slowly I unfolded the tissue, and there it was, Grandma May's sapphire ring. I just sat there staring at it. The deep blue stone, the tiny nick on the side. Exactly the way I remembered it. Exactly the way it was supposed to be. He took it back from Vanessa. That alone told me something had shifted, something real. But even then, it didn't undo everything. Because returning something you never had the right to give away. That's not redemption. That's correction, and there's a difference. I held the ring in my palm for a long time. Letting the weight of it settle. Not just what it was, but what it meant. Grandma May's voice echoed in my head. Keep them together, Birdie. I used to think that meant sacrificing everything. My time, my money, my peace, myself. But sitting there in my quiet apartment, holding that ring, I realized something I wish I understood years ago. Keeping people together doesn't mean letting them break you. It doesn't mean carrying everything alone while everyone else pretends they're helping. It doesn't mean staying in a place where you're invisible. It just means you tried. And I did. For 16 years I tried. More than tried. I overgave. Overextended. Overstayed. And for what? A seat at a table where I was never really welcome. I placed the ring on my finger. It fit perfectly. Like it always did. Like it was waiting for me. Not for Vanessa. Not for anyone else. For me. And for the first time in a long time I smiled. A real smile. Not forced. Not polite. Not for anyone else. Just mine. Meanwhile back in Pennsylvania things kept unraveling. The town found out. Not through gossip. Through records. Public filings. Legal documents. You can delete a social media post. You can spin a story. But you can't erase public truth. And in a small town, that kind of truth spreads fast. People started connecting dots. Oh, Bridget paid for the kitchen, right? I remember she handled the roof after that storm. I always wondered how they afforded all that. Yeah. Now they knew. Vanessa tried to keep up her image. Posting quotes about family loyalty and toxic people. But it wasn't landing anymore. Because people weren't buying it. Not after everything came out. Not after the legal case. Not after the salon shut down. Not after Derek left. Silence replaced attention. And for someone like Vanessa, silence is worse than criticism. Because it means people stopped caring. My mom stopped going to church. Couldn't face the questions. Couldn't face the looks. My dad, still sitting on that porch every morning. Rain or shine. Like he was waiting for something. Or someone. But I wasn't coming back. Not like that. Not anymore. Months passed. Slowly, quietly. The case moved forward. Vanessa took a plea deal. 2 years probation. Full repayment of the $85,000, which she didn't have. So now, she's paying it back slowly, month by month. For years, the salon is gone. Completely. She's working a receptionist job now. Different town, different life, smaller. Realer. Derek finalized the divorce. No drama. No fight. Just over. My parents, they didn't lose the house, but they had to sell part of their land to keep it, the safety net. Gone. The lifestyle they got used to. Gone. Now they live within what they can actually afford. Not what I provided. And me, I sold my share of the house. For $1. Not because that's what it was worth. But because I didn't want anything tying me back to that place. Not legally. Not emotionally. Not financially. $1, a clean break. A full stop. And honestly, I've never felt richer. Because freedom is worth more than anything I ever paid for that house. I still drive past that exit sometimes. On my way to job sites. I see the sign, feel that pull for a second, but I don't take it. Not yet. Maybe one day, maybe not. But the difference now, it's my choice. And that's something I never had before. I keep the ring in my drawer most nights. Not because I'm hiding it, but because I don't need to prove anything anymore. I take it out when I want to remember. Not the pain. Not the betrayal. But the lesson. Because this whole thing, it didn't just break me. It rebuilt me. Stronger, clearer, unapologetic. And the truth is, I wouldn't go back to who I was before, even if I could, because that version of me, she would have stayed. She would have apologized. She would have kept paying. And I'm not her anymore. Not even close. And what I realized next changed the way I see everything. Family, loyalty, love, all of it. Because sometimes, walking away isn't the end of the story. It's the beginning of finally living your own. The last time I saw my family, it wasn't planned. No dramatic reunion. No emotional setup. No heads-up text like, "Hey, can we talk?" It just happened. 6 months after everything, I took a detour on my way back from a job site. I don't even remember deciding to do it. One minute I was on the highway, the next minute I was taking that exit I'd been avoiding like it was cursed. Ridgefield looked the same. Same gas station on the corner. Same faded diner sign. Same quiet streets that always felt a little too still. But it didn't feel the same. Because I wasn't the same, I pulled over about a block away from the house and just sat there for a minute. Hands on the steering wheel. Engine still running. My heart wasn't racing. No anxiety. No dread. Just awareness. Like I was about to step into a place that used to define me. But didn't anymore. I turned off the engine and stepped out. The air smelled like cut grass and someone's BBQ. Kids were riding bikes down the street, laughing like nothing in the world could touch them. Normal. Everything looked normal. But I knew better. I walked slowly toward the house. Each step felt deliberate. Grounded. Like I was choosing to be there, not being pulled there. That alone was new. The porch looked smaller than I remembered. Paint chipped near the railing. One of the steps slightly uneven. I noticed details I used to ignore. Or maybe I just never had the space to see them before. And then I saw him, my dad, sitting in the same chair Aunt Ruthie told me about. Elbows on his knees. Hands clasped, staring out at the street like he'd been waiting for something that never came. Until now. He looked up. And when his eyes landed on me, something shifted in his face. Not shock, not confusion, relief, pure, quiet relief. He stood up slowly, like he didn't want to scare the moment away. "Hey," he said. Just that. No nickname, no pressure. Just hey. I nodded. Hey. We stood there for a second, a few feet apart, like strangers trying to figure out the right distance between them. "I didn't think you'd come," he said. "I didn't either," I replied. Honest. Simple. Real. He glanced at the porch, then back at me. "Do you want to sit?" he asked. I looked at the chair. Then at the door behind him, and for a moment I felt that old pull. That old instinct to step back into that house. To try again. To see if maybe, just maybe, things could be different now. But then I remembered everything it took to get here. Everything I had to walk through, to finally stand on my own. So I shook my head. "I'm okay here." He nodded. Didn't argue. Didn't push. Another small change. We stood in silence for a bit. Not awkward. Not tense. Just quiet. Then he said, "I got your message about the sale." I shrugged slightly. "Yeah. You didn't have to do that," he added. "I know," I said. "I wanted to." He looked down at his hands. Then back up at me. "Your mom's inside," he said carefully. I didn't respond right away. Because that was heavier. That was the piece I wasn't sure I was ready for. Okay?" I asked finally. He exhaled slowly. "She's trying," he said. That word again. Trying. It used to mean everything to me. Now, it just meant something. Not everything, not nothing. Just something. She talks about you, he added. A lot. I looked away for a second, out at the street. At the life going on like nothing had changed. What does she say? I asked quietly. He hesitated, then said, that she wishes she saw you sooner. That hit, not like a punch, more like a weight, settling in slowly. I nodded once. Didn't trust myself to say anything right away, because what do you say to that? Thank you? Too late. Neither, so I just let it sit there. Between us. Honest and unfinished. He shifted his weight slightly. I'm not going to ask you to come inside, he said. I looked at him, surprised. Why not? Because I think if you were ready, you already would have. That. That was the most self-aware thing I'd ever heard him say, and it meant more than any apology he wrote in that letter. Yeah, I said softly. That's fair? He nodded, then reached into his pocket. Pulled something out, a small folded piece of paper. He held it out to me. She wrote this, he said. For you? I stared at it. Didn't take it right away. Because I knew what it was. Another apology. Another attempt. Another piece of something that used to mean everything to me. But now I had a choice. And that changed everything. Slowly, I reached out and took it. Folded it once, twice. Slipped it into my jacket pocket. Not opening it. Not yet. Maybe later. Maybe not. But the point was it was on my terms, not theirs. We stood there for another minute. Then I said I should go. He nodded immediately. No guilt. No pressure. Okay? I took a step back. Then another. Creating space. Real space. The kind I never had before. Take care of yourself, I said. He gave a small, sad smile. You too, I turned. Walked back down the street. Didn't look back right away. Because I didn't need to. I already knew what was behind me, and for the first time in my life, I wasn't tied to it anymore. When I got to my car, I paused. Hand on the door. And finally, I looked back. He was still there, standing on the porch, watching, not calling out, not asking me to stay, just watching. And somehow, that felt like respect. I got in my car, started the engine, and pulled away. No tears, no dramatic music playing in my head, just a quiet, steady feeling in my chest. Peace, real peace, the kind you don't have to fight for, the kind you don't have to earn, the kind that comes when you finally stop trying to be enough for people who never saw you clearly to begin with. I reached into my pocket at a red light, pulled out the folded note from my mom, turned it over in my hand, and then I placed it in the glove compartment. Unopened, not because I didn't care, but because I didn't need it. Not anymore. Some people think closure comes from answers, from apologies, from fixing what was broken, but sometimes, closure comes from walking away and realizing you're already whole. I drove back onto the highway, the exit disappearing in my rearview mirror, and as the road stretched out in front of me, wide and open, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Not anger, not sadness, not even relief, just certainty that I did the right thing, that I chose myself. And that no matter what happens next, I will never again shrink, sacrifice, or silence myself just to keep a broken family together. Because the truth is, I didn't lose my family. I found myself.